Hi, thank you for taking time to join us today for this webinar. We're excited to have Bart Basie do the presentation. The topic today is the top 8 use cases for enterprise documentation. And we're excited to have Bart kick this off. And just a bit of information here at the end. We'll have time to answer some of your questions. So if you do happen to have any questions that come up during the presentation, feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar panel, and then we'll address those after the body of the presentation is over. So now I'd like to introduce Bart. He's a technical engineer with the consulting group here at Hot Docs, and he has a wealth of experience with document solutions and IT. He's got a deep technical background, but he's also worked a lot on the customer-facing side of the business, and so he's worked with customers of all sizes, small organizations all the way up to Fortune 100 companies. And so he speaks quite a bit about process improvements and workflow and document production best practices. So we're excited to have him do the presentation today. So with this, I'll turn it over to you, Bart. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to type those in. We'll address those at the end. Thank you. Take it away, Bart.
Thanks, Marvin. Appreciate that. Problems with document assembly, sometimes they're unseen or unrealized. Anytime you've got a volume of documents and you've got repetitive documents, document assembly solutions offer you the ability to save a lot of time and to increase your accuracy. A simple way to increase your accuracy with any repetitive document, we could be talking about something as simple as a non-disclosure agreement where you're filling in a couple of blanks, or talking about something as complicated as a lease agreement or a trust agreement, which could run 50+ pages. We've seen contracts running in excess of 500 pages. And the minute you've got these repetitive documents, and again, simple or complex, small or large, the cost of the time to get them done accurately, to check that you filled in the blanks properly, that nobody's cut and pasted something inappropriately, to have a senior person look it over, to have a document expert, a subject matter expert in that document, then we start getting concerned with all the complexities. Well, we said this here, we have to say that there. Well, we better go ask Jane. Why? Well, Jane's the expert. She knows this document. She knows how this contract works. Document assembly can solve these problems. And so what you've got here in front of you on the screen is a list of the core issues that document assembly solves. And it's a very, very cost-effective way to solve this. The real catch isn't just getting in a document assembly engine, because all document assembly engines assemble documents. The catch is to get one in where the user experience is both simple to utilize, so the software doesn't end up being shelfware, as well as has the ability to support the complexities that you need. So document assembly software starts off by talking about compliance and risk issues. And the first part of that is having an engine that will accurately assemble a document. Now, for filling in the blanks on a non-disclosure agreement, pretty simple stuff. If we have more complex logic required, as we often do, then we need to make sure that the document engine can handle the complexities of if this appears, then we need to add another clause. If in document A, so we have a loan package, and if we put this in the escrow agreement, it needs to be reflected in the mortgage statement. And if we do that in the mortgage statement, we need to carry it over to the settlement sheet. So we've got the greater complexities. That's when we start looking at the actual ability of a document assembly engine. And while we're doing that, the level of complexity that document assembly can do needs to be coupled with a user experience that will cause users to adopt it. Along with this, a good document assembly engine is never going to change your standardization. So having multiple letterheads, multiple types of documents, all being generated from the same template in exactly the way you need it. Now, if we're talking about non-disclosure agreements or mortgages, loan packages, the exact length and height and pixels and colors are not super critical generally. But if we're talking about filing things with a court or filing a PDF with the U.S. government, we have to be absolutely perfect every time. So it's important to check off the box that a document assembly engine is going to take care of that and is going to, out of the box, maintain the exact look and feel of the template, and doing it, again, with a user experience for your day-to-day users that is easy, because we need people to utilize the software. We don't want people going around the software. When we put all this together, we're managing compliance in two ways. One, the document assembly engine is going to make sure the document complies with our rules and regulations. More importantly, a good user experience is going to get us better data in, which means our document on the way out is better. The standardization needs to be guaranteed every time. When you put those together, you have tremendous efficiency, and the return on investment with a good document assembly solution can be seen in the matter of months. So we're not saying, oh, you recover your cost in 5 years. We're saying in general, with most projects, you will see a positive cash flow return in a matter of months. Here's how it works. With the HotDocs solution in particular, this is exactly how it works. With any document assembly, this is roughly how it works. It's pretty similar. We have a subject matter expert, a content author. This is not a technical person. This is a person, and I'll go back to my loan package metaphor. So I've got a loan package. I've got a loan officer who understands everything in that home mortgage loan package. So this person, who is not a programmer, bank officer here, picks up the documents, PDFs, Word files, whatever they are, and teaches HotDocs what content will vary. We're going to put a name here, and if we have a second name, we're going to put that here, and we're going to put this here and that here. It also teaches HotDocs what we can calculate from the data that we already have. So if in a loan form I want to put an amortization table, I don't want anything external to do that. I want to let my document assembly engine perform all the calculations with the minimum information required. This eliminates errors. Furthermore, that content author needs to teach the document assembly engine what the logic is. If I don't have a truth in lending statement, stop everything until I do. If I have multiple parties to the mortgage, then I need additional documents, make sure we generate those. If I check these boxes, then we need to include these other things. Do I need a flood insurance document? So the content author, subject matter expert, needs to teach the document assembly engine how to build a new document based on a template. They're doing a knowledge transfer. The idea is that when they're done, a regular user, so the content author, by the way, is an occasional job, right? They come in, they put a document into the system, they get it set up. They may make an edit once in a while, but that's the occasional job. The day-to-day work is done by the user. The user goes to the document assembly engine. In the case of HotDocs, it doesn't matter how you reach it, phone, tablet, etc. And HotDocs starts interviewing the user, asking questions. And it asks questions in an intelligent and dynamic fashion. For example, if I need a particular piece of information for a flood statement in a mortgage application, well, I only need to ask that question if I need that document. If I don't need it, I'm not going to ask it. So we're going to ask the right questions of the user. And along with that, the content author needs to customize the questions that are asked, how the questions are asked, and what additional support and assistance is available to the user when they're going through the interview. Again, we want to do a corporate knowledge transfer from that content author to the user. When the user's done filling out the form, bear with me, lost a mouse. I'm going to talk through the rest of this slide because right now my Machine, well, wasn't responding. Hang on, I'll get us right back there. Not sure what happened. My apologies on that one. There we go. So fills out a form. HotDocs then, with the document assembly engine then, not specific to HotDocs, produces documents. And a good document assembly engine will then remember all of the answers given. We got a couple of big benefits here by remembering all of the answers. One of those is, in a negotiated document, making a change is simple. Our user simply opens up the old set of answers, makes one change in one place, and the entire new set of documents is rolled out with that change. Back to compliance and risk. This is brilliant because if that change causes other questions, other documents to change, other clauses to be included or deleted, it all happens automatically. So we have no more concerns about the accuracy of the content when we're making changes to a negotiated document. Tremendous help right there. These are the top 8 documents that I see in my role as an engineer when customers first start a document assembly project. They'll walk in and say, okay, we need document assembly because of our lease agreements, because of our franchise agreements, lending agreements, etc. These are what drives everything. Very quickly, if you're a bank and you have a document assembly concern, you want to streamline your lending, one of the first things that's going to happen is HR is going to go, hey, wait a minute, we can use this software for an onboarding package, exit interviews. If you're a franchising organization, you're going to start using it for NDAs and leases and lending, as well as your franchise agreements. So what you'll find is that document assembly, when the user interface is simple and yet allows you the power to be incredibly flexible in your logic, when you combine all that together, document assembly tends to grow within an organization because it is a simpler solution than not using it. Let me show you how some of this works. So right now what you're looking at is the HotDocs developer interface. And this is one of many interfaces. There's also online ones, there's mobile ones, etc., where a user would go to create a new document. What you've got here are just the demonstration documents on my laptop at the moment. So in my folder here, banking, and all of this is customizable. Again, it's your documents, your language, your interviews. If I want to create a new lending package, I click on it. System comes up and says, hey, is this new? Or are we going to work on something we've already done? Nope, brand new. So now, and again, what you're seeing is not something you get out of the box. You import your loan package into the product. Your content author will go through and teach the document assembly engine what questions to ask, how to ask them, how to put the documents together. And again, in ours, I've got a few questions here. Do I need an interest rate disclosure? I'll say yes. Do I need a notice of flood hazard? I'll say yes. And I could type my way through every additional section of the loan package, but in this case, I'm going to reach out to a SQL server, and I'm just going to say, pull in all the other answers for me. If I step through my interview process here, you can see that there's a lot of flexibility in the HotDocs implementation of how we ask questions and what we do and what's available in terms of this interview. This interview that is, of course, flexible. So as I'm going through my interview and editing my comments or editing my answers, I can go, oh, wait a minute, I need another borrower in there. I've got the one, but I need to add another. So we're going to put a second borrower in here. Click on the add another button. Put myself here because I'm going to be another borrower. And you'll notice that when I went to type of entity and I made a selection of individual, that spawned an additional question here. If I then change my mind and decide that I'm a corporation, changes the additional question. Depending on what you say will determine what the interview does next. It is a dynamic and intelligent interview. I'm not going to add a third, and at this point I'm just going to come down here and say finish, And now HotDocs does what it does best. It assembles documents. And as you can see from the spawning on Word here, I've now got 4 separate documents. Here's my notice of flood hazards, which I said I needed. I'm not going to save it. Here's my interest rate disclosure statement that I asked for with the interest rates and the calculated APR. My promissory note, all the information filled in, everything's done. Don't need to save that. And finally, my deed agreement. If I go back to this lending package real quick, though, and I fill in the answers again, I not only can go back and forth in the interview and edit content, I can also take a look at an answer summary, because I've got 4 separate documents there. And if you're a loan officer at a bank, you look at the same thing all the time. You're trying to make sure that the right answers are there. A really simple way to double check that is to just go through a summary of what questions were asked and what answers were given. And so very quickly on one sheet of paper, I can see all of my answers. Back to compliance and risk. Not that the document assembly engine is technically doing an amazing thing, but the user interface supports from the ground up greater compliance and lowering risk with things like the answer summary. So it really does come back to how a product works and the ease of use of a given product. And now it's going to go through and create my new documents again. Let me stop these, and I'm going to show you a couple of others. Got a few other documents here. So contracts are a big one. So whether it's a contract, sales contract, franchise agreement, lease. Got something open. There we go. So now I'm running my interview for my standard contract. Again, I get the question, is this new? And I say yes, and now it starts asking questions. Now this interview is different. I can't move forward in this interview the way I was able to with the loan package. In the loan package, it was allowed, and in this one, the content authors decided not to allow it. And they've said that the introduction must be completed before I can move on to any of the additional grayed out sections. So who's responsible for the contract? Well, if I don't know, I need some help here because I'm a user and I may not be an expert in the document. I can click on my help button. So where does this text come from? This comes from you. It's your document. It's your question. It's your logic. And it's your help. So you know the kind of questions you're going to get from users and how to help them out best. So I'll put Scott Meyer's name in there. He's one of our salespeople here at HotDocs. And I'm going to select HR products and services. And again, I'm not going to make you watch me type. I'm going to say fill demo answers. You may have noticed that my left-hand side of the screen, where I've got all of my sections for this interview, just expanded tremendously on me. Well, it expanded because the answers that were given spawned additional questions. If I step through this and I change answers, questions change. The entire interview changes dynamically on the fly to include documents, drop documents, change clauses in documents. So we talk about a dynamic and intelligent interview process that is critical to getting good documents out. It is critical that we validate the answers given. I can't put something in here that is not a date within the ranges that I've specified to the system. And yet from an ease of use standpoint, I've got a calendar widget. I've also got shortcuts. So if that's not the right date for me, a T and a tab very quickly turns that into today's date. If I say finish, HotDocs will again do what it does. Don't ask me now, do I want to save all my answers? I'm not going to save them. And now I've got a finished contract. So right now, exactly like I was with the other example, I'm back inside Microsoft Word. Most organizations right now with their documents start in Word and they finish in Word. The only thing the document assembly will change on you is that you start with the document assembly engine, you tell it what document you want to produce, it asks you the questions that are necessary, and then you're right in Microsoft Word again. You could just as easily produce a PDF document so that can't be edited. Happens in probably 20% of my customers' usage of the product produces PDFs. The rest produces Word documents, and in some cases, they'll have a package that produces both. HR is a good example of that with onboarding packages. This Ceridian contract, by the way, is completely real. So if I need to include photographs, graphics, images of signature blocks, photos of property, all of this, anything you can do in Microsoft Word, a good document assembly engine will do natively out of the box. So there isn't a particular file format that you can't include or use when creating a document. In addition to that, things that really matter are the integrations available. You need a document assembly engine that will integrate with your current infrastructure. So if that's SharePoint and BPM and ECM and document management, you need a system that'll integrate with it. If it's just eSign, well, same thing. eSign is simple, but you need a system that'll integrate with eSign. So this is Ceridian's contract. I think I mentioned this once. It's a real document. Ceridian uses that every day, day in and day out. The last document I'll show you, and I got a ton of them here, and if at any time you want to see your documents and how they would look in the system, or you want to see more of our standard demonstration packages, we got a form on the website, contact us. Happy to show you what document assembly can do. So this one looks a little different. Works the same way, right? I've got a bunch of fields and I answer my questions. And this is going to produce for me in the end an onboarding package for HR, which includes some Word documents. But in addition, if I look at a preview of what I'm producing, this is a W4. And when it rolls off the printer or gets saved as a PDF, it's perfect. You can submit this, it goes right through, the IRS is perfectly happy. So when we create a PDF document, it's perfect. And this is where that standardization right below compliance and risk becomes critical. So whether it's a PDF form or it's filing a matter with a court or filing a matter in multiple courts, different courts have different formats, we need to make sure everything is identical. Document assembly handles that. It's what it does. So let me get back to my slideshow here. Got a couple of slides and then we will wrap this up. So right now I'm back on my demo slide, just past the whole how it works, content author and user. Hot Docs, that's who we are. That's the software you've seen. That's who I work for. We're a good-sized company. We have over 1 million users, actual people using the software, companies all over the world, partners all over the world. And we've been doing this for a very long time. We invented the concept of document assembly. It was a research project at Brigham Young University around 25 years ago, and the software has exploded ever since. People see it, and there's application for it. There's an easy cost savings immediately. As I mentioned, the ROI on this stuff is usually, with most projects, within a matter of months. At this point, I'm done with my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. Marvin, do we have any questions yet?
Yeah, thank you, Bart. That was a great presentation. I've seen some of those examples. So yeah, let's take a few minutes here and answer a handful of questions that have come through. Okay, let me pull up the first one here. Okay, so this question has to do with the developer software. It says, is the standard developer used, or is there a different version that's required for enterprise customers? And this is, I guess, with the template authoring tool.
Yep, really good question. So developer can be used by an organization of any size. So you could be huge and use developer on the desktop. It is not a great fit for organizations with more than a handful of users, for template development, people who are going to be developing templates. So there are But there is the HotDocs Advanced solution, which tremendously expands the capabilities on an enterprise-wide scale, giving you the integration with all of those enterprise-wide things that enterprise IT departments like, such as your LDAP or AD authentication, managed control of documents, etc. So there is an enterprise version of what you've seen today. That's the HotDocs Advanced product. At its core, it does exactly what you saw. It assembles documents. It does not give you a different ability in terms of content authoring. It streamlines it. It's built for the enterprise and larger organizations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so another question here. Okay, so how difficult is the template creation process, and who should do it? Do I need to be a software engineer?
Great question, Marvin. I don't think I've had a demonstration where this question hasn't come up. HotDocs in particular was designed for subject matter experts to create the templates. We want their corporate knowledge and their expertise in building the logic around the document so that we get the best answers going into the questions and we get the best documents being produced. In order to facilitate that, we've got a user experience with this particular product that was designed for users, not developers, not IT professionals. There are times with very complex documents when you will want to utilize the resources of a developer. And this comes into play when the logic gets very complicated. We support that. There's tremendous flexibility in the product. So there are times when a subject matter expert will work hand in hand with an IT resource, which could be in-house on your end, one of your developers. Certainly could be one of our professional services people or one of our partners. The complexity of the document drives that, but to put some numbers around this, 98% of the documents that I see in use with customers globally with HotDocs, the templates were built in-house by the customer, by a subject matter expert, without any involvement at all from IT. And part of that's due to our training and education department, because we've got a really solid curriculum to get you trained up on the content authoring. And it's not a technical thing, it's just learning how we do things. However, that does mean, 2%, 2 documents out of every 100 have a level of complexity where a choice was made to either use our professional services or one of our partners or an in-house developer to support that subject matter expert and getting the best possible logic wrapped around a document. Thanks, Marvin.
Okay, thanks. So one last question here. Okay, so will my templates integrate with other technologies that we already have in place at work?
Oh, it's a great question, and it makes me smile. As an engineer, my gut reaction is, well, of course we can make it work. Anything can be made to integrate as long as the core technology was designed for that purpose. So with the HotDocs product in particular, from the ground up, everything was designed with an idea of allowing integration to other products. The reasoning behind this is simple. If a company sells everything and does everything, they don't need to open their product up because they want you to buy all of their products. So there's no need for them to play well with others. Well, at HotDocs, we do one single thing. We assemble documents. We do nothing else. So the only way we've been successful is by allowing, and not just allowing, encouraging the integration with other products. So if you have a document management repository, you're using SharePoint, you're using OpenText, you're using EMC. If you have a business process management tool, Pega, whatever other software you need to integrate with, HotDocs can integrate very easily in one of 2 ways. We can get content from another system. We can get templates from another system. We can get answers to interview questions from another system. as simple as an Excel file or a spreadsheet or a database, as complicated as a robust piece of enterprise software like Pega's BPM solution. So we can pull in content and templates. We can also take the documents that we create and the answers we're given and push the answers and or documents back into workflow systems like iManage, OpenText, EMC, Pega, etc. So we go both ways. You've actually seen the tools that allow this to happen because all of the HotDocs software was built using our own open APIs. And those are the programming interfaces that you get natively out of the box to integrate with anything. So we have deep experience with integrations. It accounts for almost everything our professional services guys do. And our partners are the same way. The bulk of their work is integrations. So the product was designed for integration. The APIs are so strong that every time you're using HotDocs out of the box natively, you're using code built on our own programming interfaces. So yes, we play well with others. We integrate with everything out there.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was the final question we had. So thank you again for taking time to join us today. Let's see, if you could jump to just the very last screen there. Kind of shows our contact information. Yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email or give us a call. We'd be happy to set up a personalized demo that would basically cover your needs, your organization. You know, we've worked with all kinds of organizations in a variety of industries. You know, as Bart mentioned, legal, banking, insurance, government, you know, large law, small law, you know, across the board. So we'd love to talk to you about your challenges that you're facing and talk about ways HotDocs and document automation can help solve the challenges you're facing. So thank you again for taking time to join us today, and a recording of this will be available on our website within the next couple of days. So you're always welcome to come back and watch it again. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.